Special thank you to my YouTube members and patrons for supporting the channel and supporting my content. How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another subreddit video. Today we're going to be taking a look at r/traumatizeThemBack. This is a subreddit that was recommended to me by my younger sibling, so we're going to have a look at it today. Hello. TraumatizeThemBack is a subreddit that's pretty much as it sounds. It's about people being traumatized, or and about people having things said to them or done to them and then retaliating in a way that is relatively equal treatment. Very quickly before we begin, I just wanted to mention, as always, I will be live on Thursday at 7 PM UK time, so if you want to come check out my stream, go do that. It's a really good time. We always have a good time on the stream. If not, I upload my streams to my YouTube channel, Blue the Nerd Live, the next day, so you can always catch the video there. Right, let's get into the subreddit, shall we? Look at this silly goob. Look at the silly goob. Karen said, "Boys will be boys, so I returned the favor." More than 20 years ago, when me and my sisters were still in elementary, our mum took us to a shopping mall for clothes and groceries. Major supermarket was attached to the mall. After everything was over, we stopped by the bookstore, where us kids picked whatever books we wanted while she was picking educational books for both of us. The bookstore also was selling some physical discs for various softwares, including games. While both of us were looking into games we wanted, a little boy our age came next to us, opened up one of the discs, and poked my sister in the eye. My sister immediately started to cry her eyes out, and my mum rushed over to see what was happening. She scolded the little boy after hearing what happened, to which he got upset and went to grab his Karen of a mother. Karen comes over and demands to know who yelled at her son. The two ladies began to get into a shouting match. My mum argued that the kid had no reason to hurt my sister like that and should be taught better. Karen argued boys will be boys and that he doesn't know any better. She asked my mum, "Why are you overreacting?" I decided enough was enough. I did a frontal kick on the kid as hard as I can, making him fall on his ass. I saw there was a nice footprint imprinted on his shirt. He began to let out the most annoying cry I've ever heard. The Karen quickly rushed over to her little turd and began shouting at me. I looked her in the eye and said, "Boys will be boys. Why are you overreacting?" She tried to argue more, but her sister held her back and ushered her out of the store. We went to get burgers and fries afterwards, but my mum also lectured me about how violence isn't the answer. Me being a little sprouty elementary kid didn't care and rode that hype train for weeks. Always a satisfying story to hear retribution like this. And I don't care what your mum says, sometimes a very small amount of violence can in fact be the answer. Just sometimes, you know? But I hate people using the term boys will be boys to excuse like toxic or harmful behavior, because that's not what that phrase means. It doesn't mean, this boy hurt a girl, boys will be boys. This boy assaulted someone, boys will be boys. It's meant to be like, my son went and got mud and grass stains all over his nice white shirt, boys will be boys. You know, like they're not meant to be used interchangeably like that. And it's annoying when they are. But OP, retaliating in the way you retaliated and being like, "Why are you getting mad? Boys will be boys," is just the perfect way to put perspective into this woman. However, sadly, I'm sure she'll never get it and she'll never change. And they say trans people are the perverts? I'm an AFAB, trans non-binary with an uncommon appearance. I use testosterone, but still hadn't had a mastectomy. So think beard plus boobs, on top of not always wearing androgynous or masculine clothes. Some adults can't realize I'm AFAB, but I know how much of a mystery I can be to kids. When they're the children of friends, they usually ask me some stuff that I'm glad to answer in the most simple and age-appropriate way. But when they're strangers, I can see them staring curiously. Most of the time, as soon as the kid's parents spot me, they make a huge, noticeable effort to not let their child see me, which kind of sucks, but I'm used to it. One day though, I was at a mall when I noticed a boy. He looked 5-ish, staring at me. I waved and he ran closer to his mum. I paid no mind after that, but soon I felt someone touching my shoulder. It was the mum with the little boy in tow. He was pouting, and I couldn't hear exactly what he was saying since I had my headphones on, but it sounded like, "You're lying to me." "Excuse me, can you tell my kid that you're a girl?" I was taken aback, so I asked her to repeat herself. "My little kid's name is asking why you're a boy wearing a skirt, and won't believe me when I say you're a lady. Can you explain to him you were born known a lady. At that time, the boy was trying to let go of his mother's hand while affirming she was lying to him. I was caught off guard for a moment, but she stood there in front of me waiting for an answer. So I remembered something I told my little cousin once she asked me what I really was, and said a single phrase. So you're asking me, an adult stranger, to talk about my genitals with your child? Her face changed from sheer entitlement to the expression of a deer in the headlights. She just stumbled away while muttering something along the lines of, "It wasn't like that. Don't put it that way." Oh boy, was that satisfying. It baffles me how many people will talk about, we shouldn't have trans people in public, no. Trans people around kids, no. The moment they see a trans person that they aren't 100% sure who that trans person is, how they began, what they were born as, any of that stuff that they don't need to know. As soon as they say trans people like that, they have this like unbelievable entitlement and like courage to go up to a random stranger and be like, it is my right to know exactly what you are. And it just baffles me how they think that that's okay. Like, could you imagine thinking you're entitled to go up to a cis person and go, can you tell me exactly what genitals you were born with? So why do we not carry that same energy with trans people? I don't get it. By all means, ask someone what their pronouns are. That's totally fine. But don't go up to someone and be like, can you tell me the circumstances of your birth? I know I'm a complete stranger, but I really need to know what genitals you have. It just baffles me how so many people think they're entitled to that knowledge. It baffles me. Nurse said I was squeamish because I hadn't had children yet. I traumatized her by telling her about the illegal medical testing I endured as a child. Edit, I stupidly used female pronouns for the male nurse in the title. In my native language, the word for nurse is categorized as female, which is why I used her instead of him. Secondly, it's been pointed out to me that this person was most likely a phlebotomist and not a nurse. Sorry for the confusion. This happened a couple weeks ago. My fertility doctor ordered some blood tests for me, and I went to my local healthcare clinic to get them done. I have trypanophobia, which I disclosed to the nurse who would be taking my blood. I always need to warn them because I can handle myself okay for around 10 mins or so, but if the blood draw takes too long, I'm likely to vomit and or faint. I once very embarrassingly threw up on the nurse's shoes. The nurse looks at me like they don't believe me and asks if I have children. I say no. Keep in mind that the labels for my blood tests have the word infertility in big bold letters, but whatever. The nurse goes on about how I won't be this squeamish once I have kids. I'm pretty pissed off at this point, as I can already feel a bit woozy, so I say very coldly, I didn't used to be squeamish about needles as a kid, which is why the doctors in my home country volunteered me for medical testing and training. My parents got paid while I was used as a human pincushion for medical trainees. I specifically remember the day they taught students how to draw blood from my neck. The nurse turned white and proceeded to wordlessly draw the blood. Because they took so long, I ended up throwing up, which they had to clean up. Maybe next time they'll learn to listen to their patient. Edit, a lot of people suggested I ask for an emesis bag. I actually had my own sickness bag with me that I used. It's just because of sheer force and volume that I tend to miss, which is always super embarrassing. For those that deal with similar issues, I also bring ice packs and ice water with me, which usually helps a lot too. Edit, some people are confused by the infertility label. I was honestly confused by it too at the time, but it's with Kaiser Permanent and their clinic has the word infertility in it, so most likely just a shortened way to indicate where to send it to. Edit, to clarify, I wasn't offended by the nurse's comments because of my infertility. It's the offensive misogynistic assumption that my very real medical condition could be in any way related to whether or not I've given birth. Edit, I need to stop with the edits at some point, but to clarify, they specifically mentioned childbirth, which is why I said it was misogynistic. As far as I know, childbirth doesn't cause trypanophobia. Being squeamish has nothing to do with it. I would clean up vomit and poop every day for the rest of my life if I could avoid another needle. They've pretty much summed up most of what I was going to say in the edits there, but yeah, just, it's wild. Of all people as well, like a nurse or a phlebotomist, a doctor, anything like that, there is an element of bedside manner and patient care that you need to have to be in that line of work, and to completely neglect that and just be like, oh, you have an actual legitimate phobia, you just need to have kids and you'll get over it. Like, huh? What? That's not how phobias work. That's for irrational phobias. Yeah, they're called that because they're irrational. That doesn't mean that they're just going to be cured by something completely unrelated. Bizarre. And also, to be fair, I'd argue that of all the phobias, this one may not be irrational either, because it's literally a phobia of being stabbed, and this phobia of being stabbed was gained by medical testing. So there's so much to this. Like, they responded to that nurse in probably the best way they possibly could. Genuinely, like, my god. And this is the one I'm gonna end it on. This is another one about trans people. Cis roommate wouldn't stop prying about me being trans, and I made her regret it. My sophomore year of college, I, at the time 19-year-old trans male, started the semester living with a cis woman. My college had hefty requirements to allow trans students into opposite sex dorms. I warned her beforehand that I was a trans man and made sure she was comfortable with living with me as soon as I found out we were roommates. Things seemed to be going smoothly. We didn't really have much in common, but as long as we got along, that didn't really matter to me. Move-in day. Things seemed normal at first. At night, she asked some normal curiosity questions that were just cases of ignorance, so I was happy to educate her on the basics a little bit. The next day, she started asking me about hormones, when I was going to start them, why I want to be on them. I had barely even come out yet, so I hadn't even gotten that far mentally, and it started getting really overwhelming. Every single conversation she had with me was about me and my transition goals and prying about my life. Day 3, she started asking about surgeries. She didn't specify which surgery, so I explained each gender affirmation surgery I knew the process of to her in graphic detail. She moved out the next day and I got the dorm to myself for the rest of the year. Yeah. I, as a non-binary person, am totally happy to answer normal questions about being non-binary, as I'm sure this person was to answer questions about being trans, right? Now, obviously, there's a lot of questions that can be answered with Google, but a lot of things when it comes to gender identity are very personal, and everybody has very different reasons, and like they'll tell you different things, right? Different trans people have different reasons. I, as a non-binary person, might not have the same reason why I feel non-binary to another person who is non-binary, right? And I am totally happy to answer questions about that when I get asked, because at the end of the day, I get asked by people who are unsure about their gender identity, and if I can help them find the thing that they feel most comfortable as, then that is great, and I am happy to do that. However, when you start prying into someone's life and asking really, really personal questions about hormones and, you know, surgeries and why, like, really, really personal things to a stranger, to someone they barely know, it baffles me. Again, we're talking about what I said earlier, but it baffles me how people have this entitlement, you know? I genuinely cannot quite comprehend how, like, a random person would feel like it's okay to approach a stranger, someone who they barely know or don't know at all, and to just start asking them about when they plan on doing hormones, when they plan on getting surgeries, when they're doing all of this really important, life-changing things that they might not know yet, they might not have considered or like have thought about that hard yet, because it's a big deal and they might not have gotten that far yet. And it can put a lot of stress on people. Just let people live their lives, let them get to things in their own time, and if they want to talk about these things to you, they'll probably talk about them with you. But don't just go up to a stranger and be like, oh, you're trans, when are you going to be doing hormones? When are you going to be getting surgery? Tell me everything. I need to know. Don't be surprised when you get some bad answers, a bit of hostility, some confused looks, or get answers that you don't want to know. And with that, I'm going to end the video. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. As always, if you would like to support me in making more content like this, then I have a Patreon in the description down below, or equally you can click on that join button on the channel to support me. It helps a lot more than you might realize, but by no means should you feel like you have to. I'm going to keep making content regardless. A huge, massive special thank you to all of the wonderful, amazing YouTube members and patrons that do support me. All of your names are on screen right now. It genuinely helps so much. It genuinely means so much. So thank you to everybody that does. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Peace out.